Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who've had the faith in us from day one and who've been a part of our journey since the beginning. So thank you, Folgers. Would not be the same without you. And as Hamilton White would say, let me see, because I'm sure this is a test and he's listening. He says that he is very, very similitudinous in his love for Folgers. Y'all look that up because I can barely freaking spell it. Anyway, which is exactly how we feel about all of you. That'll give you a hint. There you go, Hamilton. That one was for you. Good grief. Anyway, don't say we don't love you because that was a freaking double tongue twister.
I think she deserves crisps. Just saying.
Anyway, also big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro and outro here on the Outer Realm. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. And hey guys, it 'tis the season. We are upon it, so go check him out. He can be found on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and most streaming platforms. If there's good music on it, you're going to find them. So please check them out. Also note all the artwork for our banners and all of our cute little emoji thingies done by Steve McGinnis. Amazing, amazing, amazing artist. So check him out as well. So tonight we welcome the return of Cheryl Costa. We all know her, we all love her, and she is coming back and she's going to finish where she left off before discussing the magical arts, the three elements. It's not really been discussed per se. We know definitely not here. And then we might get into some consciousness stuff with UFOs and aliens, which is always, amazing stuff for me. I love it. In order to participate, though, guys, you're going to have to head over to, let's see where we're at tonight, because we do switch it up, believe it or not. YouTube, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. We've got the Outer Realm. We've got UFO Paranormal Radio. We've got Facebook News on the flip side, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, UFO Paranormal Radio, and United Public Radio. The Outer Realm, of course, Canada's Most Haunted. So those are your 8 platforms. Wherever you're watching, please kindly subscribe, like us up, join the group, whatever it takes to show your support. And we love and appreciate you all for it. Bam. There we go. So hello. People chiming in. Got Wayne, Joan, Elizabeth. What is that? Melissa. David Bowie was in tune with UFOs. His songs indicated it. Yes. Yes, actually. There's quite a few celebrities who've got some amazing UFO stories. Would love to get into some of that, let me tell you. That would be really cool. That would make one heck of a good show, I'll tell you. But tonight we have Cheryl Costa, and she was a lot of fun. We always have so much fun with her. So do you guys in chat have a lot of fun with her. So we always end up bringing her back. I think this is her 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken. And I am sending her off the link. And we'll see where the lady would like to start tonight. But she's just, I know it's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a super relaxed.
Always is with her.
Oh, yeah. She's just funny. I just love listening to her.
Can you say that word again?
No.
What?
What? No. Okay, I'll try. Let me try. It is very similitudinous.
Very similitudinous.
Very similar.
From his last spelling bee? Is that a word from his last spelling bee?
Yeah, right. Spell it, Hamilton.
Seriously,
thing is, you probably could.
I had to look the word up, and He's like,
I
oh,
know,
try
right?
to use in a sentence. How about no?
Full moon tonight. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Actually looks real fine from this end too. So here we go.
Hi,
Banner.
Carol.
Cheryl Costa. There we go. All right, back to
Love
over here.
magic.
Hi, Carol. Melissa. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Chiming in.
Yeah.
And
It's
I think
spooky season.
it is spooky season. I
It's spooky
love the
season.
autumn.
If you follow us on the Outer Realm, I put up a clip of a trailer of a horror flick that I actually enjoyed. And anyone who knows me knows that I sit through horror flicks in the theater laughing my head off. This one was old school, and I loved it because it had possession, it had the horror, it had, the murder, the mystery, had everything. So if you're, on our page, check that out.
Give it a
Let me
shout.
know
What
what
it's
you
called?
guys think. It's called Awoken, Awoken, and it's on
Mm.
Prime. And I was shocked because I thought, looking at the cinematography is the first thing that I look at. And if it looks low budget, I usually don't watch it. This one wasn't bad, but the story was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed. It's not fabulous. It's not Amityville, but it was really good. Loosely based on a true story. Just saying. And
I love that sort of thing, though, especially
Yeah.
this time of year. You just want it's the time to nestle in and
right. And it fits it checks all the, ticks everything off for me, like the possession, the balancing. And it's got a lot to do with what we'll be talking about in October, in Spooktober. So it's a good thing to watch. We can discuss it after because it brings up it brings up a lot of stuff that is real. Yes, Carol.
Yes.
So
yes. No, it's going to be great. I look so forward, to October because they have a lot of the stations or the networks will have their 30 days of Halloween or, so every night for the most part or every weekend, or they have their own specials where they show ghostly things or paranormal or just horror movies or just things leading up to October 31st, or even right into November 2nd, the whole Day of the Dead thing. Like it's just really goes full on, and I always look forward to it. It's just like for all you Christmas people who just like to watch Christmas movies. Actually, my mother watches Christmas movies all the year round.
Yeah,
I'm just like, but then again, I'm a Halloween person. I would watch that all year round. I do.
It's not about Christmas as much as it is a feel-good film. I think it's what it does for you.
Halloween films make me feel good.
I watch them both. I can go from watching, like a Christmas with the Cranks to, watching Amityville Horror right after.
Yeah.
I can do that. Friday Fright Night shows
I
at
remember
11.
that.
Yes.
They would go on till like 4 a.m.
They'll do it again. The funny thing is spooky season starts the end of September, not so much the beginning of October because they know that a lot of people are out.
Yeah.
But my favorite, what's your favorite film to watch? And then I'm going to say what mine is every season. What's the movie that you have to see?
That's really tough.
I know it is really hard.
For Halloween, I have no real specific movies I like because it depends on the genre. You have just classic. I'm not much into this. Like, I used to love the Friday the 13th, that sort of thing, but it's just like I don't get into the whole scare thing. You know what I mean?
That's a good one. It's a love story. It's fun, rom-com and horror. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love horror movies, but then I love supernatural things, and then I love paranormal things. So there's nothing specific. I enjoy watching The Rite. I've enjoyed that. Like I like those kind of things.
Yeah, me too.
I like those kind
Michelle
of things.
and I love it. I love The Exorcism of Emily Rose. But
that's also
The Exorcism of Emily Rose has The Rite. I love because it's so true to life. It really is, and it is a true story. It is his story. I love The Exorcism of Emily Rose because I love law and paranormal, and it's the perfect combination for me.
Right.
Hi, Samantha. The kids make us watch Casper. I love Casper. Can I keep you forever?
Casper was good. How about Nightmare? Nightmare Before Christmas. A lot of people love that as well.
Anything Ted Burton. Yes.
I know. That's just always a fun thing. Okay, that is sent. So we're just going to wait
Michelle
for Cheryl.
I like watching movies that are real. Our favorite, and it's funny, we both have the favorite. We both have the same favorite film. and
Yeah.
it's an old one. It's an old one. It's called The Entity. It's not the new one. It's the old one.
Yeah, that's that one there was I like the older films. I just find they were made so much better. It's just like I prefer watching documentaries like A Haunting in Connecticut, for example. The movie did not thrill me whatsoever, but the
The movie was terrible.
documentary, right? It was the same thing with
Haunting
the
in Georgia
Enfield
as well.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Again, the documentary type or the black and not the black and white, but the older 70s version.
I have it. I
know,
have
I
the
love
documentary of Haunting in Connecticut, and you're talking to the family.
Yeah.
And that was the only, and I remember having this conversation with you. I said,
Yeah.
I've never stayed awake at night from any horror film.
Right.
I've laughed my way through most of the Conjuring movies. But the documentary of Haunting in Connecticut kept me awake.
Really?
That demon that portrayed the demon. This was a long time ago, though. This is when it first came out.
Yeah.
That thing kept me awake. I was just, the documentaries. Yeah, I know now. Yeah. But back then that was a big deal for me because I didn't work this side. But I love the documentary and Haunting in Georgia documentary. It's on the same. If you buy it, it's on the same disc.
Our guest is here, so we are going to officially start. All right. Now it's a party.
Hello, beautiful.
There we go.
Hi.
Now it's a party.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, how are you?
Great. Sorry, we had a good thunderstorm here and knocked out power and knocked out internet. I just literally got everything booted up. So
yeah, it's okay. That's We're glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you, beautiful?
Talk about being frantic. You're not getting the best of me either. Sitting here with a dragon t-shirt.
I like that.
Your glasses match. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's great. We always look forward to having you on. Right?
Great. Yes, thank you. I know I've been looking forward to this all day, and then about an hour ago, darkness.
It always happens like that. That's the time of year, right? It's the time of year.
I know. I love it. I love it.
2 days ago, Tuesday and Wednesday, it was quite literally so dark out here at noon. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. It was crazy.
Oh,
I know.
it's terrible.
True. Us too. We had like a ridiculous amount of rain. A ridiculous amount of rain.
It's really affected the produce this year, just saying, because I cook a lot and it's been really tough.
Yeah.
It's been really, and I'm the one that supports the farmers, during the year. And I live out in farm country, so it's really not a big deal.
We go to the farmer's market every Saturday.
Yeah,
so.
we have a stand at the farmer's market here, so I appreciate that. But but we sell cheese. But it's hard. It's important to support them. And the weather's crazy all over the world, so it doesn't matter where you're shopping. Try to support them.
Okay,
absolutely. Oh,
we lose them, we're in trouble. That's a whole other show.
Okay,
that's a show that you have with Captain Paul Watson.
We've had him on. He's been on twice and with pretty intense messages. Yeah. I love it when he says, "If the ocean dies, we die." And you look at him and you go, crap, I really believe it. Because you just look at him and it's just like
he's the only guest that when we're off air from having him, I have nightmares.
Yeah. The whole
the key to it is if the plankton dies, that's the bottom part of the food chain, and it goes to hell from there.
Absolutely. So. And it makes so much sense, too. Really. Yeah. It's not that difficult to figure out. It just goes like this, domino effect, right?
Yeah. He said the same thing.
You know what bugs me is I keep seeing all these news articles about this one glacier up in Greenland, and they keep calling it the doomsday. And I was conversing with one of my friends in the UK. I says, you do realize if that thing dumps all that nice cold glacier fresh water into the ocean, England's going to freeze to death.
I never knew that.
It will go out. It will shut down the Gulf Stream that goes up. It shuts down the conveyor belt, and
it's done.
England's going to be the new Greenland,
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're like for for environmentalists, I don't know what England is like. If they're Canada is really, really hardcore at recycling. You will get fined. They will not pick up your trash. It's very hardcore. When we take out the trash, there is 4 boxes going out. It's not, you're only allowed 1 bag of trash. Everything else has to be separated.
Sorted out, you bet.
Yeah, I'm not sure I don't know how Europe works with that, because with all that tourism, you would hope that they abide by something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Europe, UK, all those countries, they have a lot of tourism.
Yep.
That's a lot of trash. It's a lot of trash,
Well,
I appreciate what the restaurants are doing right now. So there's a shout out for all the restaurant owners out there. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
So
let's go magic.
Yes. Do we want to start with magic, or do we want to do AT? What do you want to do?
What do you want to start?
Let's talk magic first. Let's talk magic.
Do that.
Okay.
I like that.
Hey,
I feel like I need a wand. I don't have one, so my
got one right here.
I have a Sharpie.
I brought 2, one for you, one for me. Okay, how's
Yay.
that?
Shit, I'm feeling left out now.
Yeah, I bet you Michelle has a few wands behind her. Never mind.
Yeah, there's some crap
It's like-
around here for sure.
You know where these wands came from? Linda and I wrote a live-action role-play game called Boarworm's Academy of Magic. Think of it like Hogwarts, but it was the American school established in the colonies.
Oh.
Okay, teaching great magic since 1695.
Wow.
And at one point we actually had a website up. It looked like a community college website. We had people actually trying to enroll. It was so funny.
I love it. I love it. You should do it.
The flavor, the thing was that this game, it was going to be at a convention up in Boston. And we realized we had better make sure we had spare wands for those who didn't have them. Okay. And so Linda ran across this ad in a magazine or something like that. Guys would make like wands for you, right? And we dropped them a line and we said, hey, what if we ordered like 50 wands? What kind of a break in price would you get? So, what do you want them to look like? It's anything you want. And it's going to go from like, we gave them a range of measurements for the, the Cupid thing, and it says anything you want, any wood you want. And he said, he gave us a deal like $250 a piece, everything. And he sat there and cranked them all, 50 of these things off on his wand. And we've got this crate of them right here still.
That's crazy.
Whenever I get a class, I just start handing out wands,
Yeah.
So.
That's so
right.
cute.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I swore I wouldn't do this again because I retired back in as a parish priestess in December 2020.
Right.
I was in the midst of what was my first ever virtual internet class that we did during 2021.
Right.
20 and 21.
Right.
And so it was like an April to April thing, year and a day. And we started out with 45 people. And I thought maybe we could pull this one through, and everything. It still ended up with the same ratio, about 5%. We graduated 4.
Wow.
There were some that just couldn't keep up with it because I was teaching like a college class.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of them wrote me, I thought we were just going to be dressing up in robes and lighting candles and stuff. I didn't expect all this reading and stuff you're throwing at us,
Like knowledge.
Oh,
You mean like an education,
Yeah.
And I mean,
Right.
I had passages from Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler. I had some early writings from Gardner in there to show them things because they were coming into this class saying, well, witchcraft is 25,000 years old. And I said, no, it's about 85 or 90 years old,
Right.
and, and then there were that other percentage of class, we'll say 20 or 30% says, got 2 months into it and says, well, no, I was hoping you'd be studying, Norse, or we'd be doing this, or we're doing that,
They're probably looking for Druidism or the Celtic.
Some
stuff.
of them were, Some of them were,
Did they not read the curriculum when they signed it up?
No, I offered it as a nouveau Wicca class.
Cool.
Right. So
basically, I was streamlining it a bit. It wasn't going to be old school. Hey, I came up in old school Gardnerian and old school Alexsanderianism.
Right.
Okay. And, I got a second and third degree in Alexsanderianism, but my first was in Gardnerian, so,
people would not be able to grasp that if they're having a hard time with Wicca.
No. So I just said, man, hey, how did I get in Gardnerian? My head was already loose to the idea of the mystical, that type of thing when I got in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy, I had left Catholic. I was supposed to be a Catholic priest. I was a good Catholic boy.
We hear that a lot.
I was a really good Catholic. Well, I was a good Catholic boy. I went to mass every morning before school.
Every morning before school. You
bet.
Were highly devout. Wow.
Yeah, and they thought I was going to be a priest, except for one thing. The nuns referred to me as the spawn of Satan.
I'm sorry. I would have been in there going, yeah, I am.
Well, and he was such a sweet kid too. The problem was I grew up in a family of clairvoyants. My grandmother was a high Umpty Scratch in the spiritualist church, and by the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I was there staying with her in the summertime, and her friends would go over levitating tables and things.
Yeah. That's why they called you that.
Yeah. Well, I was also clairvoyant. It ran down two sides of the family. We had straight up clairvoyants coming down the maternal side of the family, and a lot of cousins had to give. A lot of them, I can't do it. My brother and sister kind of ran from it. My brother in his 50s now, actually 60s now, he has softened up to it because he's an engineer and custodian for a big school district, and he's used to working in some very old school buildings that are haunted as hell. And that has wised him up. He's taken me for a few tours, and
he's going, probably slightly intuitive.
He's very intuitive. He doesn't
that
didn't
makes
know how to,
it. Yeah. And
he
then when
didn't
you're
know how
in
to compensate for it.
No, and when you're in a place like that, you can't help but hear and see.
Okay, so here's what happened. The kids in school, when I was in good Catholic school for the first 6 years, only went to 6 years of 8 at that school. And kid, I tell someone, hey, your birthday's coming up, right? He says, yeah, you're going to get this for your birthday. And they did. Okay. And the nuns were saying, well, I'm going to refer to him as Boy Cheryl. Boy Cheryl, told us we get it. And then we always get what, the kid says, And then,
oh, Jesus.
And then what happened was we had did you ever see the movie The Paper Chase? John Houseman, we're gonna make you lawyers, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, our pastor was John Houseman. He was heavy set. He had that thing, we're gonna make you priests, that kind of thing,
Right.
And how do I want to say this? One day they invited me over to have lunch with Father G. I'm not going to call out his whole name. And so the house cook, secretary, housekeeper had a nice sandwich, a nice cookie, a glass of milk for both of us, that type of thing. And he was sitting there in jeans and a t-shirt. I always saw him in his robes on Sunday, that kind of thing. And he had remember those big old Wallen sack tape recorders? 3M made them kind of gray and white, that type of thing. Big reel-to-reel thing. Well, he put a microphone in front of me and started talking to me about my dreams. Okay. And he started logging all this stuff I was talking about. And 6, 7, 8, 12 weeks later, boom, there it was, And so he did this for 2 years.
Oh my gosh, is that allowed?
And I was just going to say, isn't that illegal?
As a kid? Yeah. Oh no,
he wasn't molesting me. He was just tape recording me at lunch.
No, I know, but something like that now.
For all I know, they're in the Vatican Library. For all I know,
That's what I mean. Like, can you do that to your students? Is what I mean. Just start.
He must have had a hell of an interest.
Yeah.
There were two of us in my class, and from what I understand, there was only 3 of us in the school that had a gift.
Oh,
okay.
And Jimmy, the other guy in my class, we're sitting there. One of the guy's dads died from a burst appendicitis. He was, I'm not sick. I'll go to work anyway. He drops over at work and he died of a burst appendix, right?
Oh,
and of course, when the kids in the classroom are sitting there saying, what happened to Stevie's father? And the nuns, of course, said, well, he's in heaven with God. And me and Jimmy are looking at him sitting over there on the file cabinet,
Oh, wow.
And so it was that kind of shakiness.
Right,
so,
right.
It was weird. I think the last big taping I did with the guy, it was in my 6th grade year. I left the school at the end of my 6th grade year. Okay. They didn't have band. They didn't have gym. They didn't have a lot of.
Yeah, you switched schools.
And I went to a public school. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a dramatic change in discipline too.
Okay. I did that in high school.
Oh, God.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Big change.
You get a lot of freedom when you leave.
Yeah, you're used to standing up to answer a question, or things like that. Well, what happened was he asked me about this. He says, I was really troubled about a particular dream. And he said, well, come, I sent a message over to him through his one of his other aides. And he invited me over. It was like a Tuesday. He had me over for lunch, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, right? And he says, so what's going on? I said, I had this weird dream. I said, Sister so-and-so, I see her fall down a flight of stairs. I see bone. I see blood. And she lands at the bottom of the stairs, and I see dragons, swords, and shields. Okay. About 8 weeks later, this sister was coming down, 5th grade teacher was coming down the steps, in like some of these older Victorian type of, convents, things like this. They'd have a carpeting coming down the steps. Yeah. One of the little brass rods that holds it came undone, and the whole thing came undone like a big ribbon.
Oh.
Okay. And they found, and she went ass over tin cup down the steps, and compound fracture calf. Okay, bone and blood.
Ouch.
Laying there among all this ribbon of carpet. And she was helping the 6th grade teachers correct art papers, and they were studying the Crusades.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Right.
So I took the last half of that year at school, was just absolutely, nobody would come near me.
Yeah, right.
And the word got around, and I just said, Mom, Dad, can I go to public school? These people are not cutting me slack. Nobody's talking to me, And so that's where I went. So I still had to go to these CDC classes, like on Tuesday afternoon, take off at 2:00, stay till 4 type of thing. But I got to 17 years old, graduate from CDC, top honors, and I don't have the faith anymore.
Well, you have an education.
Yeah. Yeah, I can sit here and watch a movie like Devils and Angels and Devils. That one, Da Vinci Code follow on. I know I'm sitting here mumbling to my wife. We're
Demons
watching
Demons and Angels. Yes.
Demons and Angels. There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm mumbling to my wife all through the whole movie. Everything they were talking about in the Vatican, I knew what it was, and I was explaining it to her.
Yeah.
That's a bit wiggy.
Yeah. Well, the whole bottom line was this. I graduated from high school. Originally, what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to get to the end of my senior year. I was going to go stay at some monastery on the lake, up at one of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York. And I was supposed to go there and then start seminary in the fall, like going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And April 17th, 1970, that was the day the Apollo 13 astronauts came back to Earth.
Mm.
Okay, after that harrowing week they had. And I was helping the younger monk, in those days, like parishes had like 4 priests, and they always had some new guy out of the seminary, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, him and I were over there washing all the cars. Okay, and we were all going to go in and eat in the kitchen. Okay, and again, everybody's sitting around in light civvies type of thing, and there was some little thing on this little 12-inch television set. It's like Evening News, NBC, or something like that, showing some like bony little babies in Biafra or someplace in East or West Africa, heads with skins and bones.
Yeah.
And I started crying. And this is a new pastor. This particular pastor with liquor on his breath yelled at me and says, "You're going to be a priest. You're going to have to be stronger than that." And I tried to defuse it, just agree with him, and he just wouldn't let go of it. Mm. And I kept taking it back. Finally, it broke down into a knockdown, drag-out yelling match between the two of us, and they pulled my sponsorship.
Wow.
And I was in the Air Force 6 weeks later.
Right.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. And
look at you.
No. I remember I'm a trans lady.
Yeah.
Back in those days, I was denying all this stuff.
Right.
And while I was in the Air Force, I read this book. It was popular in 1969, 1970. Everything you wanted to know about sex, but were afraid to ask.
Uh-oh.
And the chapter about transsexuals, he's been since Dr. I can't remember his name now, but he has since throttled down his view a lot. The LGBT community got a hold of him.
Right.
But in his book, he said that transsexuals were nothing more than mutilated transvestites. I read that on Friday night. I volunteered for Vietnam on Monday morning.
And this was when? What year?
1970.
Good Lord.
1971 at this point, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And no. Actually, it was amazing enough. It was one of the best decisions I ever made.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying.
I went over there. I went over there to get myself honorably killed. Is what I did.
Yeah, the struggle that everybody went through back then, and still today, but like then, 70s, it was terrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And so I got over to Vietnam, and I was pretty much. The only time I think I went into the chapel once while I was over there, and it was on Christmas Eve. And it was 11:30 at night. We're walking. A friend of mine and I were walking down to something to do. Christmas night, midnight mass, right? So we decided to walk down to that. Neither one of us had the faith anymore, and we were walking along, and I saw this thing streaking across the sky, and then it stops. And he looks at me and says, "Jets don't stop." I said, "Helicopters don't fly that fast." If that's what I think it is, it's going to start dancing around like a fairy, and darn if it didn't, and gone. That was my second UFO sighting in my life.
Wow.
And so you start seeing pavement being laid down there my life at this point.
Right.
And then I was a straight up arrow. You got to understand, I was 102 pounds when I got there.
Right.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And you want to know what I did for a living? It's a combat duty now. I climbed telephone poles and repaired cables that had been damaged due to the shellings and people shooting at them and things like this. And I got shot off one. But the deal was, that's what I did. And people shoot at you on those telephone poles, and it was goofy. But the bottom line was this. There was a couple of Native American guys in our communication squadron, signal squadron. And one of them referred to me as two souls. And I said, "What's that?" "Oh, you don't know what that is?" I said, "No, I don't." And these three Native American guys were laughing their ass off. "Don't worry, Coyote will teach it to you sometime, Yeah, baby.
Okay, great, Coyote. Be gentle. Wow. What I tried to do when I was in the service at that point, I went to the chapel. I did go to the chapel, but I went with everybody. We had some Latter-day Saints. I went with them. I went with the Baptist guys. I went with everybody. Wanted to see what they were teaching. Okay. And I had started doing it in Texas, where I was based before I went there. And I went to more tent revivals and more river baptisms than you could shake a stick at. Okay? Nothing sang to me. Okay. And then I was out of service at the end of in 72 because my hometown got wiped out in a flood. Okay. But I still continued mystical reading that I was doing.
Okay. A lot of Hans Holzer's books, that kind of thing, right? And I got on board a submarine in 1974, and I looked at this one guy, and he had a pentacle right here on his neck. It was always above his t-shirt. I said, "You're not a Satanist, are you?" He came right down my throat. "No, I'm not. I'm Wiccan." And so I felt terrible. So I went and bought him a soda out of the machine on our ship, and I took it down to the laundry room. He was a steward. He did the laundry for the officers when he wasn't serving food. Okay. So we got talking, and once I got over apologies and everything, and I said, "I'm just lacking in terminology. I apologize." So we got talking, had very deep talks. Turned out there were 8 of us on the ship. I was initiated a year later in what we called the forward diesel on the front end of the submarine. We could close the hatch in that space. 8 of us around the sacred diesel, little statue of the goddess up on one of the cooling vents.
Sacred diesel.
I love it.
My sacred bath was a bottle of fresh water poured over my head. And our cakes and ale was 2 cupcakes we snagged from the galley and a big can of grape knee-high.
Great. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that word in a long time,
Okay. But there were like 8 of us. And they basically said, "You're a mongrel." Half of them were Alexsanderian. There was one guy who was a druid. The other guys were 2 guys was Gardnerian, that kind of thing. So, and I never heard the word eclectic in there anyplace. And so they basically took me out one day in the cafeteria. They looked at me and quietly said, "Consider yourself Alexsanderian." I said, "Okay, fine," and that was where it went. And that's how I got started. And that was in 77 is when I took my initiation. So 76 is when I met this guy. And he quietly introduced me to others on the ship as they developed up a trust for me. So here I am 44 years later, getting ready to teach another class. I was the keynote speaker at the Regional Pagan Pride Day a few weeks ago. 5,000 people at this thing, and they asked me to come. Yeah, I'm retired, right?
Yeah.
Well,
okay, just checking.
Keynote speakers. That's not like really heavy responsibility. I've got this nice book.
Yeah.
So I'm going.
Okay.
I know. So we're going along, and next thing I know, I had to teach one class while I was there, and I taught a class about when is the best magical hour of the day, and started out just a handful of people in the thing, but we had a good speaker and people could hear me, and of course I have a little bit more of like an evangelistic style. I start getting louder with certain parts that I'm teaching, and we attracted a crowd. And what the flavor of that is there's a 2-hour window a day where ESP divining type of stuff or active magic is amplified by 250 to 450%. But it's not the same hour every day. It's 4 minutes earlier every day. So over a period of a week, it's 30 minutes earlier than it was today.
Yeah.
Okay? It's moving constantly. It's astronomical time, 23 hours, 56 minutes, not 24 hours, 23 hours, 56 minutes. And it's creeping around. Well, I'd written an article for Wicca magazine a few years ago, and I basically did explain some research that I had done. And if your listeners want to find that article, go Google Wicca magazine, Cheryl Costa, pagan clock. And I explain how a government scientist discovered back in 1997, he took like 2,200 ESP tests. He didn't care what they were. All he wanted to know was the quality and results of the test. And he ranked all the peak ones, and he did them by sidereal time, which is the astronomical time. And he found out at 13:30, this is on 24-hour clock, 13:30 or 1:30 in the afternoon astronomical time. And that time can be in the middle of the night. Remember, it's moving around the clock, right? The psychic ability goes through the roof. For a half hour either side, it's about 450%. For an hour either side of 1330, it's like 250%. He thought it was a fluke. Here is a measurable physical effect that reflects a different something with ESP or telepathy and all that stuff. So he thought it was a fluke. He was a classically trained physicist. So he went out and did 1,400 more ESP tests he gathered from other schools and things that were doing them, came back in, did all the calculations, it came out the same way. Now, the mundanes at the time, when it got into the press and things like that, they all thought, well, maybe because it's the universe is over top and it's imbuing us with this power, you know. Now, the universe, the galaxy was on the horizons.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing overhead but a handful of stars. That was it.
Oh, wow.
When I was in a Buddhist monastery, this is 97 to 2004, lived in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery in Maryland. Ordained Buddhist nun. I got promoted later. Before I left, I got promoted. I'm a yogi. $5, you can still buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you know, so, you know, how that works. All the powers of the universe at your fingertips still cost you $5 for a cup of coffee, you know.
Pike's Place.
So what happened one night, one of the other monks was an optical astronomer. I had a hobby because I was a ham radio operator of being a radio astronomer. And I showed him this article that came out by Dr. James Spotswood in 1997. By the way, he worked for the same people who designed remote viewing for the Army.
Mm.
Okay? So we're looking at it and we start getting our calculators out on our laptops and our planispheres and everything. And we figure out the same thing, you know, the galaxies on either side. There's nothing overhead. And he looked at me and says, this has got to be like going in and meditate. Any other time of the day, it's like going in and trying to meditate in a discotheque. There's nothing but noise. The galaxy's not overhead. We are physical beings with electric signals coursing through our bodies. That radio noise interferes with our abilities. I said, yeah, agreed. So with the galaxy on the horizon, it's quiet. So what constellation is directly overhead? Virgo, the pregnant mother, virgin mother, pregnant with galaxies and universes. And the star overhead, and as most things are hidden, we know a lot of magic is hidden in children's songs and nursery rhymes and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Second stanza tells you exactly what the formulation. They just don't tell you what star. Okay, if your wish is in your dream, in other words, a meditative state, and if you make your wish like dreamers do, you know, again in this meditative state, loving state, you can fate will be kind and give it to you. It's something that's more or less the words, and it works. Okay, so what is that time? 1330, baby, and the star is called Spica. Now, Disney people say it's the first star you see in the sky at night. Okay,
Right.
Okay, but it's Spica at that 1330. And then in my article in Wicca magazine, I talked about the fact that I got my astronomical calculators out. We looked up the lat, longitude, and all this stuff of all these megalithic stuff, you know, kind of stuff you see on Ancient Aliens, you know.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And all around the world, I had like 15, 20 of them, right? And we did all the calculations for where they were and calculated sidereal time for them. And son of a gun. Winter solstice morning, okay, Karnak, Egypt, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, happens there. Go to Newgrange in Ireland, Newgrange County, boom, there about 9 o'clock in the morning, a little higher latitude.
Everyone has their specific sweet spot, as they say. Yes,
exactly. But it's at 1330. It's just your latitude makes a difference for when the sun comes down the portal, as they say.
Crazy.
And so I started running the calculations for all the pagan holidays, the 4 major ones, like giving. Oh, anybody here used to be Catholic? Okay. Okay. All right.
You speak Catholic. I'm going to write that one down.
Hours of the Angelus. Remember, 6 o'clock in the morning, noontime, 6 o'clock at night, stop and say a prayer. Remember, the Catholics stole a lot of stuff from the pagan community.
Everybody. Stole from everybody.
Okay? Well, guess what?
Yes. Ancient stuff.
Well, I'd had a suspicion of something like this back in 82 with one of my Druid teacher friends, okay? He made us all, this is again, boy Cheryl, he made us all go outside in our kilts at 3:30 in the morning for Imbolc in a foot of snow, you know. Of course, we were all drunk, so we didn't feel any pain or anything with the snow. But I never could figure out that time, and he would never tell me. By golly, that's the time of 13:30 on Imbolc. Okay. And it's noontime for Samhain.
Yep.
It's like 6 o'clock at night for another one of the holidays. Off the top of my head, I don't remember off the top of my head. And it's about 6 o'clock in the morning for one of the other ones. And if you want to, you know how Beltane, you know, everybody's out there doing great stuff there around sunset. It's at sunset on Beltane.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So that's one of the cool effects. So, okay, I got off the sidetrack. So I'm going to be teaching this year-long day in a year and a day class here, and I made everybody. I put an announcement up through one of the local craft stores, and I said first thing we put up says, you know, I'm a priestess of Isis, so it was the Order of Isis Rising was going to offer this year and a day class, and would you believe the web nannies took it down? ISIS is a terrorist organization.
Oh, Jesus.
It's been nothing but ridiculous with that lately. So
we had to change the ad, you know, the Order of Aset, okay, which is her proper Egyptian name. Isis is the Greek translation. So we went that route. I'm a Nouveau Egyptian priestess. Isis is my goddess, okay?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you can't teach it. Nothing in Wicca tells you who you have to believe in, okay? So I had 6 people signed up. Instincts telling me there's a 7th coming. I don't know, but right now I have the sense that I have to have 7. So I'm thinking 7 study kits here, right? You know,
right.
So one of the things I've decided the way to teach this stuff, it's one about spiritual energy. And funny thing, I said the class was LGBT friendly, and by golly, you wouldn't believe the amount of non-binary people that are going to be there, including the professor, as they say. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
So the approach I took in the introduction to the class that I sent them goes something like this. Women are transcendent. Trans women and non-binary evolve to be transcendent if they embrace it. I teach magic in the context of gender neutral. At our foundation, we are all unity beings. If we accept that situation and condition, it allows us to be totally complete beings. Therefore, potentially open to most of the lessons the great consciousness has to offer. But all that is stranger than we think and stranger than we can think. And so I tell you at this point, be careful what you ask for. Baby.
Right.
Okay. In this class, we will approach our magic as gender neutral beings. We are simply magical adepts and co-practitioners. There are no high priests, no high priestesses. We are simply magical adepts. We're a level playing field. In this magical household, it is a safe place. We are magically gender neutral beings. Outside of this place, in the worldly space, you are free to present yourself any way you feel you need to blend into society and be comfortable. But here, be free to be all you are. And as they say in Vegas, what's done here in our circle stays here in our circle.
Right.
And the whole year and a day is built around the journey of the hero.
Right.
And I teach all the lessons in the context and all the challenges, tests, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's great.
Right. Okay. Well, I know Nicole from Guiding Echo. She's another show here on the network. And she says, I need Cheryl to be my new BFF. But anyway, here's a real question for Amelia. If you can catch this one.
I got it. Yeah. Okay. Her new best friend forever.
Yeah.
She asks, what has Cheryl manifested with this method?
Yeah.
Everything I've ever wanted.
Ah. Dun, dun, dun. There you
Is this
go,
another
Nicole.
to be careful what you wish for kind of?
That too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start there. I graduated in the lower quarter of my class in high school. Got in the Air Force, they tested me and said, hey, you got 140 IQ. And then they figured out, oh, you're dyslexic. Your school didn't figure that out. You know, oh, really? Is that why I can't read so well? You know, so, okay, fine. There's all that. Okay, so I went to film school after I got out of the Navy. And I made industrial films for IBM Federal Systems, their military products division, for 5 years. Okay. They made like 70 titles. Okay. And I wrote a lot of them, directed a lot of them, not all of them, but I did most of them. And so the bottom line was I was coming into my spiral dance years in the 80s, that kind of stuff. This druid guy and his wife was Wiccan. And I saw how beautiful all of this was, and it sang to me. I said, somebody should do a good documentary about this. And didn't quite have the resources or the people I needed to do it. Get transferred down to the Washington, D.C. area. I plug into a couple of cable access stations, get qualified with Arlington 33 in those days. Think of that like a poor man's version of YouTube, where you worked actually at a real cable station, but you did it all on video that way, okay, with studios and everything. And I pitched the idea to the producers there after I got certified on all their things. I pitched the idea, this is in late 1990, I pitched the idea of doing a regularly scheduled program about American witchcraft and shamanism. And she was very, so she gave me a contract for 6 measly episodes. Okay.
That's not much time.
There's still series that get 6 measly episodes.
Well, these days they're all about 4 to 6 episodes.
Right.
Yeah,
Back then, everybody got 13-week contracts, right?
At the time, yes.
And this was, and she said, we'll run you as a summer replacement.
So half a season. Yeah.
Not even that. It was 2 months, So I said, now, if I'd gotten on my high horse and been all egotistical about this thing and stomped out, I would never have gotten to do this. I said, fine. This is around November. I signed a contract. And getting up close to Thanksgiving, had a bunch of Wicca friends over, knowledgeable ones. Had them in our living room. We put up a big bird in the oven. It's going to be many hours to cook. And I sat down and said, I got this contract. What should we do our first episode about? And then the other follow-on 5 episodes. I wanted everybody's ideas. So I did the consensus model. I gave everybody pieces of paper, write out your ideas. We threw them all in a hat, had 80 or 90 of them. And then we started pulling them out. And I said, if we only get to do one show, what do we do? And then consensus got it down. If we got to do 2 shows, what? And we went through all 5 or 6. And then I said, what if by some stroke of luck, we get to do more? What's priority? So we sat there for the next 2 hours and prioritized every one of these ideas. In some cases, combined them and said, oh, by the way, we can get Joe to do that. We can get Lady So-and-so to do that one, that kind of thing. I said, fine. Come first part of 1991, I go down, we start taping. We taped 2 episodes a Sunday afternoon. Took us an hour to set up, an hour to tear down. And we had the in-between time of the 6 hours to tape the episodes. And we had the hosts of the show. They didn't want me. I was a trans woman. They said, you can't do the show. We don't want a transsexual lady representing us as witchcraft. 1991. What? Yes. So I feel very vindicated to hear where I am 30 years later. I'm the keynote speaker at this thing. And it was a big deal for me.
Absolutely.
So what happens? So we get up there and I've got 4 or 5 shows in the can. Okay. I finally get the last one in the can. And I figured, well, that's it, you know. And then May 23rd, 1991, a lady comes to my door in Laurel, Maryland. I didn't have a phone at the time. Remember, we didn't have cell phones in those days. You either had a hardline phone you got to pay a deposit on or something like that, or you had a little MCI card or something like that. You went down to 7-Eleven, used the payphone, right?
Yeah.
That's what I had at the time, even though I had a good corporate job and everything.
Pagers.
Yeah, they had those too, you know.
Yeah,
but so what happens is this lady knocks on my door and says, "You don't know me, but I went to school with Joe so-and-so, and he's an executive producer down at Arlington 33. I said, yeah. He says, he needs you to call the station right away. Something's happened. I said, really? So I walked down to the 7-Eleven and call him up and said, what happened? The place burned down? He says, no, Cheryl, a 300-word story went out on the Associated Press this afternoon. Somebody that was in one of your tapings leaked the story about your show to the Associated Press. I said, Associated Press wrote a story about us in the station? And he said, yeah. I said, is it positive? He said, yeah, it's positive. I says, so what's the problem? Did we get some press ink locally? No, Cheryl. ABC and CBS News are sitting in the lobby and they want to talk to your witches.
Right.
This is like the old joke, you know, you're going to have an interesting day when 60 Minutes is waiting for you in the lobby, you know.
And wants to talk to your witches.
And wants to talk to my witches, you know. So where we lived in Laurel, Maryland, it was a big beltway area. Now, on a Sunday, we could be down there in 45 minutes. 6 o'clock on a weekday, it's a 2-hour drive with traffic. So I told the guy, I said, look, let me talk to one of them. You know, I talked to the CBS person. She said she would meet me at lunchtime the next day in a park near where I actually work. And I said, fine, that's great. The ABC guy says, we want to do it tonight. I said, I can't get there. He said, tell you what. He says, the new Carrollton Metro station is on the east side of the Beltway, right? I said, yeah. He says, we're on the west side of the Beltway. We could shoot across Route 50 downtown. There's no traffic downtown at this time. It's all out on the Beltway. He said, we can be over there and meet you in the new Carrollton Metro station parking lot. I said, fine. So me and Kestrel were sharing the household at the time. She had 2 little girls. Each grabbed the baby, ran through the showers, got some dresses on, makeup, and left. Got in a Yugo and went. Get down there. They got the snorkels up and they got the microwave things going. They got lights up. The sun's starting to set and everything. So they talked to her. They talked to me. 11:30 at night, 11:30 that night, they ran that piece on Channel 7, the ABC affiliate in DC. The next morning, I get to work and my boss is sitting on my desk. And he says, I said, what's wrong, Ed? And he says, you had there was a show that you're producing talked about on ABC last night. And I said, yeah. He says, they ran at 11:35. I said, yeah. The general manager called me at 11:45. Wanted to know what the hell's going on, you know. So we worked it out. Basically, I said, look, I'm not going to mention where I work. You're not buying advertising on my program. You're not going to get talked about. They were good with that. We thought that was the end of it. Suddenly, later in the morning, I get a call from Arlington 33. They were getting phone calls from radio stations and talk shows all over the country, radio talk shows all over the country. So I said, yeah, okay. I wrote them all down, got their contact numbers, started calling people back and everything. Next thing you know, next day, 8 weeks, 8 to 12 calls a day for 8 weeks. And we weren't even on the air yet. Mm-hmm. Larry King's people call us up. They see a piece CNN did on us, and they want us on Larry King the night our show's debuting.
I loved him.
Okay. Oh, I mean, he gets up there at one point during the talk. He looks at me. He says, "You know, they're out of the closet, Cassandra and Kestrel, with their new show in Arlington, Virginia. You know, about witchcraft. You know." And he gets up there and gets all this stuff. And he looks at me at one point during the interview. He's talking to her first because she's the host of the show, and then talks to me. I'm her high priestess. You know, so we're talking, and he says, "Do you do bad spells?" I said, "Nah, it's too much work." You know. And okay, what we did not realize, I was high maintenance in those days, but my voice is what it is. Mm-hmm. Right? 250,000 people watching this thing. They got 90,000 phone calls. That's a man in a dress.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God. It was crazy. So their producer took me out to dinner about a week later and said, would you be square with me? You know, I said, yeah, all right, fine. So that gives you an idea. All right. What happened? I came down. Arlington 33 called me up and had me come down. Next thing I know, she puts 2 13-week contracts in front of me and says, sign them. I said, what? He says, you got a $50 a week cable access program and you're pulling national press.
Mm-hmm.
And we started pulling international press. We caused a riot in Rome.
No.
Yes, we did. Okay.
Wow.
October 1991. We've been on about 4 or 5 months. I hope I'm not boring you with this.
No.
This is witchcraft history. This really is. Guy from ABC, I think it was Bill Greenwood, called me. And he says, you guys, they'd already interviewed us. And he says, do you guys know you caused a riot in Rome? I said, what? He says, you did a piece for Italian Look, right? I said, yeah, they were at the studio. He said, did a piece for Italian people, right? I said, yeah. He says, and Rome Channel 4 came to visit you. I said, well, at least the Bureau in DC did. Yeah, sure. He said, okay. Those magazines hit the newsstand the same week that the news story ran as an after news thing in that 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock hour. And they did a lot of filming, so they had a lot of material with us.
Yeah.
And what happened was, after that ran, all the Rome is mostly high-rise apartment buildings. The suburbs of Rome are. There's none of this single-family house stuff unless you're rich.
Most of the suburbs of Italy are that way, though.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, 6 plexes and up.
6 plexes, or higher.
Yeah.
And all these women started, what he explained to me happened was all these women started coming out into the alleys, chanting. And as they went through the alleys by other buildings, more women were coming out. By the time they reached the closed gates of the Vatican, they were about 3,000 strong.
And that's its own city.
Shouting in Italian, "We are the witches, we have returned."
Yeah. They've been silenced for a long time in Italy. My great-grandmother was,
Astrega, yeah. So that was one of the cool things we did. So we did, ultimately, we produced 70 episodes.
Oh, wow.
From that measly little thing.
Everything happens for a reason.
9 or 10. Hey, that was some abundance magic I did on Astara. Breaking eggs.
So that's all
the fertility stuff. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But the visualization for the program started in 1988. It's one of these things. You just don't light a candle and then go off and play basketball. You every day have to focus on that thing. One of my best high priestesses, it's exactly that. It's a daily mantra prayer of some sort, right?
Yeah.
I had a priestess. She wanted a particular type of motorcycle. She cut out every picture of that style motorcycle. She had them on her makeup mirror. She had them on the refrigerator. She had them over the stove. She couldn't get away from that motorcycle. She didn't get a new one, but a used one fell into her lap.
Can I just interject here for a second? And you know what's funny? Because you're saying it was on her fridge. It was here. It was there. Isn't a vision board kind of like that?
Funny how that works, huh?
For those of you who, are so opposed to magic, but you create vision boards.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So the bottom line with all this, we did these 70 episodes. At that time, cable systems in big cities were maybe 15, 20 channels. In a smaller city, it was maybe 10 or 12 channels. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But new networks were coming online all the time. Okay. A new network, and I'm not allowed to say their name, but a new network was coming online, and they came to us and said, look what you produced with a $50 a week budget on a dinky little cable station. How would you like to go national with your witchcraft show? Unfortunately, Kestrel, my host, 25-year-old Kestrel, is burned out and is getting all these. She sings folk songs. She's getting all these offers to go on tour with folk singing.
Yeah.
So she leaves it. So the network had seen me do 2 substitute programs in her place. Okay, we taped 4 shows on a Sunday, so I was on 4 programs in a different outfit for each program.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, it's 4. We shot 4 in an afternoon. They were half hour, and it was a talk show. Sitting there in a couple of wingback chairs talking about craft. With somebody. And what happened was, the station president And this person from the network both said, God, we like Cheryl better than the other broad. Let's have her. She's up. She's perky. What the hell? Okay. So they came to me and the old guard witchcraft community in DC got wind of it and said, we will make you non grata so you will never get another guest in the DC area on your program. We don't want a transsexual priestess representing craft.
Shit.
Okay.
That's cool.
So I've had several radio shows since then. Went on an FM station in DC in '94. I walked away from the TV program, just a radio program. I did that. It was called The X Factor. It was kind of like a ripoff on Art Bell, but we did mostly mystical stuff, and had everybody from Llewellyn and Harper and all those people came to. We were to stop in the Mid-Atlantic if you had a metaphysical book to peddle, and it was a live show for 3 hours on Saturday night. At that time, I was an ordained Buddhist nun doing the talk program. It was carried syndicated on the Business Talk Network on Saturday nights. The markets are closed. They were starving for programming. Carried us a step further. Then a few years ago, 2018 to 2020, I did a midday show on mysticism and witchcraft out of a Las Vegas radio station called KCOR. Okay. And I did a show every Tuesday. Okay. And it was well received. And currently, I had a producer snag me last year where I was a guest on one of his hosts programs in the UK. I now have 150,000 listeners in the UK on a program called Magical Mentors. And it's just we stripped the video off the thing. I come on, they gave me a private login for StreamYard, and I just come in, talk to the microphone. I do it by myself. I was going to have guests for the first 2 or 3 episodes, and they found out that the listeners skipped past the guests only to listen to my 15 or 20 minute.
That's what your audience wants. That's
what they wanted.
Yeah.
So now I do about a 15 to 30 minute program. I just get on there and I go on a topic matter and I chew it to death for them. Okay?
Great speaker.
So I do that. So that's where we are with that program, and I'm having good fun doing it. And so this new class, I broke this thing up, aspects of magic. Now, if I'm talking too much, you tell me here. Okay.
No, you're the guest.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I broke magic down. This is a new way I look at it, especially in this class. While I'm doing it as a year and a day class, all 6 of the 7, my 7 people, I've got 6 people signed up. I know there's a 7th coming. I don't know where from. That I know I've already seen this person, so to speak, and I feel sorry for them. They don't even know they're signing up yet. So I say there's 3 aspects to know of magic. In this class, by the way, they are all somewhat seasoned. 2 of them are crones.
Wow.
And I said, I thought this was going to be ranked beginners. And I made them all write an essay to me. I told them 100 words minimum. And they all came back with 2 pages. I'm going, oh my God. Nobody writes 2 pages, So I'm reading all this stuff and they've all got very interesting eclectic backgrounds. So I said, yeah, sure. Okay. We're going to salt this up to a little bit more of an advanced class, obviously. Okay. So I teach that there's 3 aspects of magic. There's magic itself. There's the activities, and there's the trappings. Okay. Most people think, it's all, okay, candles, we light them. That's to meditate on initially. That's what it was about. I'm a fireman. Please don't use real candles. Use electric ones, please don't. You know how many priestesses I've had to roll on the floor to put the fire out?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big don't light the candle and leave that floor.
No, don't leave your apartment. Yeah,
I put in their kitchen and then go upstairs to their bedroom, and it's like, what are you doing? Because it takes nothing, even a vibration. Or they
leave the candle hanging on a chain up on the ceiling, and you could see the char marks on the ceiling from the accumulated heat. I've seen it all. One place, this person thought they were going to do this great offering, and they had this big tray in front of their goddess. Big goddess, stone goddess. and they had brought a big tray in, like a big cookie sheet, and it had all these little tea candles on it. Okay, well, tea candles, with the accumulated heat from all the candles burning, they all liquefied. And the cheap paraffin that's in those little tea candles is just great for just using it for like one thing, for a lighter to heat your tea up or something like this. But all together, that all liquefies. And then after a certain amount of time with that combined heat, it vaporizes, and that's when you get the boom.
Yeah,
okay.
They don't realize that.
Oh,
hurricane lamps
beautiful,
are a good idea.
beautiful altar on fire,
Yeah.
So a bunch of this stuff, So I basically, there's candles, there's rocks, there's crystals. You don't need to charge your crystals in the moonlight. I don't use crystals. You don't need them. They're still pretty to put on your altar, but don't max your credit card buying crystals.
Oh my gosh, people go out of, they go crazy with crystals because they're so pretty.
Oh yeah. Hey, I knew a lady had 2 lava tubes in her ritual room. These things were this big around,
I just want an amethyst geoid. I'm not asking for much, about 5 to 6 feet tall.
Okay, incense. I talk about the thing. I'm allergic to it. My spouse is allergic to it. We don't burn incense in here. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to, that's your business. But I prefer not to. Magical apparel. Okay. Don't wear your witchcraft robes all up and down the street and to every discotheque you go to. That doesn't make them special anymore. These clothes are supposed to be a cue to your subconscious. Now it's time to do magic. Okay. And so I got that. We have non-magical apparel. Okay, if you want to dress witchy and gothy and all that kind of stuff outside of ritual, fine. Keep those clothes away. Keep your witchcraft clothes in a separate closet just for ritual. Okay, so we go down through the wands, athames. Why do you need live steel in a household or an apartment? You don't, other than to hurt somebody, and you don't want to hurt somebody. Okay,
live steel.
I don't let live steel in my circles.
I don't know what do you mean by live steel?
Swords and athames.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
I have a little boot knife. It's about this long. Okay, it's in a little leather case. It's what I use to cut herbs. Okay, that's what I concentrate with. Okay, now if I'm doing a festival circle like that, and we're outside in a little pasture or something like that, I'll bring out the claymore. Yeah, I'll bring that out there.
I understand now. Okay.
I got all kinds of stories looking what? Okay.
Oh, I've given about 5 of them away to previous priestesses that took over the clan leadership or something like that from me. Okay, deities. We don't tell you who to worship. You can pick a deity. I recommend you go out and start looking at travel books from all over the world. Read about go to the library, not online. Go to the library and read all these travel books about all these different cultures and all these different places, and maybe what some of their spiritual traditions were and that type of thing. And by the way, if you hear a jet, I'm very close to an airport. So, and if something resonates, then start doing some deeper research that maybe you have a past relationship with somebody. Okay. I was calling the same people they did in Starhawk's book and Gardenerians. It was all Hellenic gods, for like the first 8 or 9 years. And then like 1990, I'm teaching one of these free university classes down in Washington, D.C., that kind of thing, bait them with witchcraft. And then maybe they'll join your coven, that kind of thing. And I went to make my offering, call the goddess, and Isis rolled off my lips for no good reason. Going, what is this about? So I started doing some research and everything and talked to my father, and I didn't know I had Berber roots. And Ancestry.com confirmed that a couple of years ago. I come by it very honestly. So, North African. Okay, I'm plugged into African gods. Okay, fine. All right. So, spiritual beings. Okay, do you really need to use deities that invoke magic? Do you need to invoke these other spiritual beings, divas, and things like this? Weather divas and things like this. Yes, it does help a lot. You don't have to, but you can do it without them. Okay, I have come by the belief. Goddess Isis tells me this as well. Stop asking us for stuff. You've got the same spark of divinity we've got. Do it yourself. Why bother them? They got bigger fish to fry. Okay. Masks. Masks are a powerful way to get into a thing and become something for certain kinds of rituals. Mm-hmm. I used to teach a class in mask making. It was a lot of fun. Okay. In fact, we think that was also some of the resistance a lot of people had during COVID. The major thrust of COVID, people didn't want to wear a mask, and they didn't understand why. But on the Christian pulpits, they've been screaming all this kind of stuff. It's the mark of the devil, that kind of thing. So
I saved on lipstick. I liked it. I just kidding. It was like taking the mask off was like, how do you draw a line now? But anyways.
Well, what's funny about the lipstick and the high maintenance? I used to be Miss High Maintenance. In fact, when I was at Lockheed Martin, I used to be referred to as Napoleon in heels. Big hair, remember it's 80s, 90s, big hair, big makeup, big nails, Yeah.
Well, mine, I cut them.
I went into the monastery and I had to give it up. We had to shave our heads. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I came out of the monastery 7 years later, there's a saying, you can take the nun out of the monastery, we can't take the monastery out of the nun. Mm-hmm. And I just never readopted the pride and beauty aspects of cosmetics.
Well, you shouldn't, and because you're there for an entirely different journey. You have to eliminate your attachment. You have to eliminate all that's a superficial thing.
Mm-hmm. The only time I wear makeup is for television appearances, or if I'm doing I'm a LARP. I'm a live action role player. So if I have to wear makeup for something in that, or if I'm on stage.
Yeah. Okay. I wear it for the show. I don't wear makeup like on my skin. I have a little bit of powder and lipstick and that's it. But for the show, it's like your face just disappears.
Mm.
Yeah, it does in this kind of lighting. Yeah. Now, the goofy thing is for rituals though, there are certain kinds of rituals. It makes complete sense for the lead officiants to paint their faces a certain way for certain kinds of rituals. Okay. And we found that was a very powerful effect for what we were doing, especially if you did it in such a way that you could easily take it off a little bit of vegetable oil while everybody's dancing around the circle and they don't see you doing it. And suddenly you're back to normal. It was a very powerful effect. Jewelry, I've seen a lot of priestesses coming in dripping jewelry and everything. I've got one big medallion that glows in the dark. That's about all I got. And my pentacles, but that's it. Other trappings. Okay, now that's trappings. Activities are teachers, mentors, dancing, events, rituals, practices, ethics, methods, circles for many, circles for one, books. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Don't max out your credit card buying every cool book you see out there someplace. If your teacher gives you one or two books, stay with those two books until your teacher says you can buy other books. Okay. That's the advice I give. Mm-hmm. And in my class, I don't want to hear you spouting back these other teachers at me. It's either my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. I run a tight ship on a teacher class. You have to.
Military background would suggest that you would.
Gotcha. That too.
Yeah.
Learning and teaching and being, this is the odd one, being a divine garment. What does that mean? Well, if we say the charge of the goddess, we're invoking. I've seen many priestesses go from Susie so-and-so. Suddenly you've got Aphrodite there. Suddenly you've got Curduin there. Suddenly you have Isis there. And it's a very distinct change. I used to think, well, they're good actresses. And one day, some 3-4-year-old kids were going to be babysat in the house. We're going to do a circle in the backyard, and we had some people who were going to babysit them in the house. And the two little ones looked up at me and says, "Is my mommy going to become the goddess? Become the goddess tonight?" They knew the difference. They knew the difference. They could see it. The young eye.
So do you think it's a form of channeling that they're just
yes,
channeling
this? Yes.
Okay.
They assert that, and two of my senior priestesses assert that issue as well. It if properly done, is a form of channeling.
No, you talk about in this craft and bringing in this goddess energy. I mean, it's a very ancient thing. Goddess worship goes back thousands of years, and it just, the church is realistically what brought the male personification into the whole play for the most part. Well, Christianity on average, Catholicism, but goddess worship. I mean, good grief, you can go and find temples and statues or stuff all over that's surfacing thousands of years old.
There's a temple to Isis in Paris. There's a temple.
Yes.
Listen to the name of Paris. Okay.
Yes.
There's a temple to Isis in London.
Yeah.
Okay. So she when she got into the Roman Empire, she proliferated like you would not believe. And what a lot of people don't understand is Jesus's mother was an incarnation of Isis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if nothing else, in a symbolic way, because they took that nice picture of her with baby Horus there, and in Rome they made made Mary with the little baby Jesus.
Of course.
But this idea of the garment, when you become a very serious devotee of a particular deity, typically a goddess, you become attuned to that goddess. This isn't something I'm telling rank beginners to be concerned with. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is something a seasoned practitioner a dozen years down the road is going to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a situation where they become a garment of that thing, and essentially, for the lack of a better term, carry a tiny emanation of the goddess constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're not possessed.
No, you just embody it.
You're embodying it and sharing it. Okay.
Mm.
And so sometimes there's wisdom with it. And there's that kind of thing. I know two priestesses that are garments. And heck, if you want to turn around, go out to Aquarian Tabernacle Church, Belladonna Laveau's folks out there, they do spring mysteries, and they've got people in their core circle there who are guest vessels for some of these gods and goddesses for a year. Okay, and they have very strict rules they have to live by, that type of thing. So it is done. And we're seeing a lot more in the last 20 years. We're seeing a lot more of God presences pushing them through. There's a term they use in Fudan that when a person becomes this, embodies this, it's called, the human person's called a horse because the god literally rides them.
Right.
Okay.
Why do you think you're seeing more of it now?
We don't
Awakening?
know. I just read, something like that. I read a book by Raven Caldera, a northern shamanic guy. And him and a Vudan guy wrote the book together about 10 years ago. And I have a Kindle version of it. And they talk about this, that it's been showing up more over the last 20 years. Okay. Probably since about the middle 90s. Okay.
Right.
And we're in Caribbean cultures, it wasn't a big deal. But our nice suburban circles and things, it rattled people. They didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
Okay. A lot of them went running off into the night.
Mm-hmm.
And that type of thing. So it's a very real thing. Depends upon who you're invoking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you get an emanation of Thor or Norse or a Satu, and you get an emanation of Thor or something, or Odin, for God's sakes, there's going to be some issues there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
So that's a very special thing. Again, for new practitioners, if you're listening to this show, that is not something you want. You do not invite anybody in.
Right.
Do not invite anybody in.
Right.
The gods have a channel into you, and it will just happen.
Right.
Okay. You don't invite anybody in.
No, it's like a form of possession when you make the invitation. We're going to hold that thought because we need to do a station and sponsor ID. Thank you.
Yes, we do. Thank you. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live on 105.3 FM from the gorgeous city of New Orleans. Tonight's guest is also a friend. We've had her on several times, and we just love having her. Cheryl Costa is here with us tonight. Shout out and thank you to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee for fully sponsoring our show from day one. Thank you for your support and your continuing sponsorship. Also, a huge thank you for our intro and outro. Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. I'm seeing a lot of posts from him with his new album for Halloween on Instagram. So check him out. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's won some awards. He will, of course, like he's so talented.
Yes.
Stream or listen to our archives on the platform you normally use. Please remember to subscribe and like us too, especially if you're on one of our Facebook pages or if you're on YouTube listening to us right now. Please give us a like.
There we go. Thank you, Amelia. There we go. You. And as Jade says, an awakening is happening all over the globe. Yes, darling lady, it is. Thank you for tuning in. Love her to death. Anyway.
I love that name. In Italian, it's Giada.
Would you like the last aspect now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Magic. Basic magical theory. High spiritual physics. This magic really is high physics. Okay. Magical mechanics, that's how you work with the magical physics. Okay. Magical dynamics, the things that you have to deal with when you work with magic. Okay. The secret truths. Okay. Now some people say, well, what do you mean secrets? No, there are secrets. Okay. Now I could share a secret with you right now and you go, But if you're down the way and you're trained, you hear that secret from your teacher in the right context, the lights go on. Okay. I'll give you an example. I can't go into the exact secret, but when I was receiving my yogi vows from a High Lama, and he took me aside before the ceremony, he said, this might seem kind of mundane to you. I said, okay. He says, there's tens of thousands of monks in Asia that will not achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. I said, why? He said, because they refuse to the culture says male is the preferred birth, a female birth is an inferior birth. It's their cultural viewpoint. So what happens is they won't embrace the rest of their unity and become a unity being, which leads to the enlightenment. Okay. He says, you've already accomplished this. I says, is that why you're giving me the yogi vows so very early in my training? He said, yeah. So, okay. Because he already recognized that I had already attained a unityship. And then he revealed what the secret was. And I said, oh, okay. That makes a ton of sense now. That kind of thing. Okay. Right. So there are secret truths in all kinds of things. And certain traditions have some secret ritual or something like this, secret handshakes, whatever. There's the known, there's the unknown, and there is the knowable. These are three different issues to know about magic, the dynamics, the universe, how things work, what you can get, what you can't get, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. There's applied theory. How do you actually do this magic stuff? We were talking about that now. We were sticking up these pictures all over the house, right? When I worked at a newspaper, I worked in the technical department. This is 2012 to about 2014. And when we got the big 700-ton press rolling, there was this rhythm to it. You had to put these earmuff things on to protect your ears, and I used to have to walk along by all of the towers of the press to keep an eye on the paper flows. And I would chant mantra down there to the rhythm of the humming of the machinery. I would sing mantras to the hum of the machinery. I would chant rituals to the hum. Nobody could hear a word I was saying. The thundering noise, right? But I worked some of my best magic working in the cellar of that newspaper, Right. So there's applied theory. And then there's this last issue, and this takes time to season in everyone. There's magical presence. You go to certain festivals, you meet certain people, and when you meet the right elder or the right person who's been doing it right, there is this thing about them. You just, it's there. You can tell there's either this sparkle or there's this quality about them that just says this person gets it. Okay, and that presence, but that's an acquired thing that comes over time.
Could it be acquired, or could it be something that's come through lineage or past lives?
Both. I would say there is genetic memory.
With you, it stays with you. Yeah,
there is genetic memory. Yeah,
yeah.
And as my father told me, my grandmother Costa was one of the little ladies over in Madeira Islands in the Azores. Everybody went to see what kind of baby you're going to have. Oh, vertical for girls. Vertical for girls, horizontal for boys. That type of thing. When she was knitting booties, my mother was pregnant. She knitted pink ones. Everybody thought she was losing it. The baby boy was born. Everybody thought, "Oh, old lady Costa, she's losing it." She knew.
Right.
She knew.
She knew your energy.
She knew the energy.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of the highlights of how I'm going to start teaching this curriculum. And of course, I teach them all meditation. Of course, I use some high techniques. I'll teach them a basic meditation like most of us learn, maybe a guided meditation and maybe some breathing, that type of thing. And then I have 9 sets of headphones up there and 3 headphone splitters, and I will be pumping binaural tones into their ear, putting them in the zone in 10 minutes.
Those are my favorite.
I love them. I love
vibration frequency. That's really what makes the universe tick.
I showed it to my Lama many years ago. I said, "Try this out." He put the headphones on there, and he's sitting there listening to it. And 10 minutes later, he takes the headphone out. Says, it takes us in some monasteries as much as 5 years to get somebody in the zone as good as that thing did in 10 minutes. I approve.
They're amazing. I use them even when I have trouble sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Knock me out with the first 10 minutes. You're supposed to listen to it for an hour. I'm gone like the first 10 minutes.
No, you got to focus to keep not go to sleep.
I know. No, I use them for sleep.
For sleep, yeah. For the students watching this program, the trick is there's a point where it's like going into dream state or staying conscious.
Yeah.
There's just a little threshold you have to maintain in meditation, not to fall asleep,
a lot of discipline.
go in the deep delta, and not to be completely wide awake, where you just need to kind of be in a waking dream state.
Yeah.
And that's that threshold you have to master. When I would teach with this method, when I first started teaching with this method, I went out and got some like yoga mats, little foam yoga mats, and I laid them out on the floor. And I had the students lay down on them, give them a headset, and I laid a little baby blanket type of thing on top of them. I said, "What are you doing this for?" He said, "I guarantee you're going to be asleep in 10 minutes."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Until you master it,
Do a lot of people ask you, because they come to me and say, my mind is just too busy. All our minds are busy. That's the discipline.
Yes. There's a book I recommend. I don't have my copy handy. It's called Quieting the Chatter. Okay? It's a mundane book. It was written by a psychologist. Okay. But what he's teaching is the psychology version of what we are telling people to do about getting rid of the chatter. Okay. Now I teach in meditation. I said, look, start meditating. And they say 2 minutes. I said, okay, close your eyes for 2 minutes and be alone with your thoughts. And I'll start the egg timer. And about 50, 60 seconds in, going, "Oh my God, I can't do this." That's how hard meditation can be, because all this crap comes up out of your subconscious. Your boss yelling at you, your boyfriend yelling at you, your 5th grade teacher from school yelling at you.
What you have to do.
all the chatter keeps coming up.
When you go to bed, it's like, right? You know what I do? I've learned to do over the years because I've been meditating for over 10. I focus on my breathing. And I, even when I go to sleep, because my mind, being a medium, it's like it's everywhere. I need white noise everywhere.
Oh, you're wired into everything, for God's sakes.
So like the fan's going, the TV's off, but the shh's coming through because it's on YouTube, you know. And I find that when I focus on my breathing and I take deep breaths in, hold them for 4 yoga breaths, and release slowly, before I know it, I'm asleep, and it's just, quiet. But that's what meditation, I focus on my breathing.
You don't, and a lot of people think, well, you got to sit in a yoga, in a lotus position.
No, I lay down.
Ideally, but you know something, I'm 70 years old. I can't get into a lotus position.
No, I lay down. Right. I lay down.
Well, no, laying down can be a problem unless you're going to sleep.
Yeah, no.
I suggest sitting in like a dining room chair, one that's straight up, not a comfy chair. You're going to go to sleep. Okay. Yeah. But if you sit, I used to be able to do 45, 50 minutes when I was in a monastery. Okay. Yeah. I hadn't really tried that long since. It took me a long time to get there too. You know, I start my students out with 2 to 3 minutes for about 2 to 3 months. And I say, jack it up a minute or two, get it up to 5 minutes. Then after about 3 or 4 months, I say, hey, let's take it up to 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at lunchtime. Oh, I don't have time at work. Go in the stall, close the stall, sit there, just give yourself 5 minutes with your thoughts. You know?
You just took 5 minutes explaining that you don't have time.
Exactly. I have a stool, and I get out of my office chair here, and I go over and I get on the stool, and I just put my knees in front of me, and I just quiet for 2 minutes. Okay. Now lately, what I've been treating I forgot I was retired. You know. I'm retired. You wouldn't know that to see the level of work I do every day. But I'm getting ready to publish a whole 50 UFO books right now, each for a different state. Okay.
Excellent.
That's fabulous.
And we're still fine tuning all of them. We're going to release some sort of all at once, like a couple of weeks, you know, but they're going to all be ready in PDF form. All we got to do is dump them to Amazon. The hardest part is designing the cover, because the cover has to stay within a tolerance of plus or minus. It has to be plus or minus 5 pages of what the page count is. So I actually had to put them all together, generate the master PDF, and know exactly how many pages it is before I can pull down the template that I need for that size cover. I already got the cover design. I just have to wrap it around that size. Okay, but the deal is this. What was I talking about?
Retiring. I'm retired. No, I'm not retired.
I'm retired.
I'm
retired. Yes. Lately, I'm up at 6 in the morning. Old military training, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's ungodly.
And so I'm just up with the chickens. So what I do is maybe about 2:30 in the afternoon, I'll go in, lay down on the bed. Sometimes I'll pull like a little, almost like a hospital type blanket, one of those ones with holes in it, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. Just enough to keep any chill from the air conditioning from getting me. I put on my shotgun glasses or shotgun muffs. Okay, just like you go to a shooting range, and I have a sleeping mask. It's got like almost like sand inside it, so it just molds itself to your face. And I'll go in there for 45 or 50 minutes. Lately, I've been doing it been able to stay conscious and focus for almost an hour.
Wow. Yeah, so, I'm nowhere near that. I'm not even near 10 minutes.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to work up to it. And I've had students say, "Well, those monks can do it, I can do it." And I said, "Yeah, they started when they were 7.
They start little." Although in Canada
not.
Now they're teaching meditation.
Oh,
they're teaching it in schools, in the public school system in a lot of the cities in Ontario. And they found that nobody's staying after school for what's it called when you get in trouble?
Discipline.
Yeah.
So I've been asking my students to do 2 minutes a day to start for about a month or 2 months, and then work it up. Okay. And that's if I'm doing them like virtual or something like this. What I'm going to do with these students is I'm going to plow them right into it with the binaural stuff. I want to be working with them in about 2 months. okay, in other ways. Okay. So that's kind of how I'm going to kind of force feed them to do it. But I'm going to also teach them to do, quietness meditation as well. But once you show them the binaural, this is what my Lama pointed out. It says, once you've tasted a cherry or a strawberry, you know what it tastes like. You know where you go. But once you've been in the zone, you know what you're trying to achieve. Mm. What are you listening to?
Yeah, the music.
Beats. Okay. We're listening to binaural beats. I mean, here's the technology roughly. They put a tone that you can't hear. The tones are below your level of hearing, but they submerge it in music or sometimes white noise. So they'll put something like 100 hertz tone in one ear, and they'll put something like 110 hertz tone in the other ear. Okay, 107 hertz. I'm sorry. So 100 and 107 hertz. You have to have stereo headphones that cover your ears to do this. Earbuds don't work very well. No. And what happens is each hemisphere of your brain is resonating at a slightly different frequency, and the effective beat between both your hemispheres of your brain is 7 hertz, and that's alpha, and it'll put you into alpha in under 10 to 20 minutes.
There we go.
And it makes sense because your mind and your body requires 6 weeks to fully take on something new and adapt to it. So the fact that you're changing it up every 2 months just makes total sense.
That's the way I've been teaching them to do it. The other way I also do it with meditation is I teach them to make bread. And I went back to every one of these students. I said, if I asked you to make bread for those two Mondays a month I have you, I expect you to bring me a loaf of bread that you made. Are you going to do it? Because that was going to be a disqualifier right off the bat.
Well, I'll bring you sourdough.
Still trying to master sourdough, but I got to tell you something.
It's not easy. I've had a lot of. No. It's not easy. I just started in May.
I tried. I had my share of failures. I used to be a very good white bread, rye bread, and whole wheat maker. Okay. Yeah. Doctor bitched at me about 4 or 5 years ago. Stop making home grain bread. Okay, diabetic.
Yeah. Well, I've slowed down because I'm afraid of that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've been cut some slack now because I've changed my diet. I've lost 40 pounds, all that sort of thing. So that took a lot of discipline.
It makes a big difference. It is when you're pre-diabetic. It takes a lot of discipline. You're fighting against yourself.
Well, I was full on diabetic. Now I'm bringing the numbers into manageable. I need very little medicine to do it, but I still have to take a little bit of medicine. But there's fasting involved. I've embraced fasting. Done a lot of reading.
Intermittent fasting is a big step. Yes. Yeah. Well, I had to do it once, so I know.
So this class is going to be. I had better refresh myself on making bread. My wife said, better start making bread too. And the costs suddenly are inflation. We got a problem. Let's answer the dumb question. Bring me back bread. This may be a dumb question, but is there such a thing as white and black magic? White and black magic. Magic is neutral. Your intent is white or black.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the way I approach it. People say, if you give me an example. Now I lay me down to sleep. Lord bless Grandma and Grandpa, who are both in heaven. Bless Uncle Joe. He's over on the front lines in Europe. And please take that Mr. Hitler. You just made it black magic.
Intention.
You ask intention. You just ask deity to do something that we would consider morally reprehensible. Mm-hmm. That's black magic.
Mindset, intention is what makes it whichever direction you want to put it in.
I taught one short class on the sympathetic contagion magic and asympathetic magic. And I pointed out, I said, you watch the movies. I had some film clips. I showed them on VHS tape. And I said, boy, VHS, that dates me, doesn't it?
But I still have them.
Yeah, I do too. But,
all the Disney ones. Come on.
There you go. Yeah. But the point being is that sometimes, how do I want to say this? Okay, in the movies, you'll see a thing like, the bad voodoo guy's going to stick a pin in Joe's picture, Okay, that's a connective magic. That's called contagion magic. Okay, the same thing in contagious magic, where you might take somebody's fingernails or some hair or blood, a drop of their blood. Of course, these days with diseases, I don't like to take blood anymore from anybody. But contagion magic can be extended. Give you an example. Say grandma is up here in ICU. I don't want a picture of her from 5 years ago or 2 months ago when she was healthy. I want a picture of her with all the tubes in her body right now, taken a couple of hours ago. Give me that picture. Go take it with Polaroid. Go take it with your phone. We print it off. We drop it into an envelope. The high priest or the lead person does. Drops in an envelope. We put a serial number on it, like we would for remote viewing, which connects us to it. Okay. And then the coven comes over. They have no idea who that target is. And I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to violate her HIPAA privacy. So I simply say, here's our target. And we go through a ritual chanting health and well-being and healing to that target number on that envelope tacked up on the other side of the altar.
Right.
And that's how you do a healing spell using contagion magic.
Right.
Magic at a distance. Spooky things at a distance, as Einstein said.
Right. Right. I love it.
And it's funny, the connectivity, you have, connectivity with the universe. Every cell in our body is connected. Every atom in our body is connected to everything, everywhere in the universe. It's awesome, especially after you see those web pictures.
Right.
And they talk about it being matter entanglement. Entanglement kind of comes up like this. The German term for it, and I can't pronounce it very well, but it's Strugel, something like that. And it's more like this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what connects you with the great consciousness. Now, if you clear your head, you quiet your mind, you can project intentions and requests, or you can be quiet. And people say, well, where did you learn your best magic? I said, I had all these books I had for years that got me sort of there. And then I spent some time in the Buddhist monastery. And the lamas used to say, there's a rainstorm outside. We can't get our fire going. Hey, go get Ani Tashi. That's my name. Ani means nun. Tashi was my name, means auspicious. And go get Ani Tashi. She knows how to shut the rain off for 25, 30 minutes while you get a fire going. And the other monks and nuns who were all Catholics, Baptists, Presbyterians, Jews, 20 years before they became Buddhists, spawn of Satan, none, So.
Right. Right. I love it.
So it's a strange path we walk here. The stuff, all the overtones from 5 centuries of misinformation by the medieval church. Okay. That one where they said, witches, they fly on brooms and they steal babies and sell their souls to Satan. The actual mythology on this, and you'll find this in a book called, you're going to want to write this down. This book is called Women Who Fly by Serenity Young. She's a professor at CNUY in New York. Okay. I'm on her speed dial. Okay. And she's on mine. And she wrote this thing. She talks about all the women who flew. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's anybody with wings. It talks about birds being embodiments of some of the goddesses. Birds were supposed to, certain kinds of birds, they'll steal, they're big ones, they'll steal your child and take it away and give it to Satan, that type of thing. And they just because witches fly, they just put that label on this. The witches can fly, so they're like the birds, they'll steal your child and sell it to Satan. That was where this stuff came from.
Yeah.
So the bottom line with the whole thing is, we have 5 centuries of bad PR coming from the medieval church. Hollywood has perpetuated it for 100 years.
Yep.
Okay. And we all get asked the question, do you eat babies? Do you turn people into toads? And that question, I always say, the people want me to turn into a toad usually are a toad already. I don't have to do anything. Right. But we all know those kind. And basically, it's all this stuff. And the trick was that TV show I did 30 years ago. The idea was just to change the way people look at magic.
Right.
Entertainment Tonight interviewed me. They said, what would we do if we were going to produce a television program about witchcraft now on mainstream television? What would it be? I said, a cross between Bewitched and 30-something.
Right.
That time. Okay, that dates
I
me.
love that show.
Right.
Yeah, I did too. And it was not long afterwards that the people from the people who produced Charmed, talked to us and ended up talking to people like Silver Ravenwolf, a few things like that. So we had influences on those kinds of things back in the day.
Charmed.
Now and then I still get a call.
Charmed was well done, I thought myself. Like I know
the original Charmed,
the original. No, I wouldn't watch. I wouldn't watch the new one. I grew up on the original, so yeah, for me. And it's funny because now my daughter, who's 25, all these years later, loves watching that. It's like, okay, you can get past the corny makeup because we're so used to really good CGIs now and everything, but the story, the book, and how they come together for the good is what matters.
We're at the top of the hour.
Okay, we got to try.
We're already there.
I'm going to go. Thank you for having me on. This has been fantastic. Can I give up
so much?
Yeah, I was going to say. No, I was going to say.
My book is Magical Musings of a Rogue Witch. This is only 126 pages, but it cuts it down to the essence of what magic is.
Yes.
You can get it on Amazon. Go to Amazon, book search for Witch Costa, Costa. You'll get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if they put Cheryl Costa in, it'll come up.
How can they find you for your class?
They can't. We're not offering virtual classes. Now, about 6 months from now, we may offer a virtual class.
Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about doing it like a StreamYard class kind of thing, and or Zoom or something like this.
Right.
It's going to have very rigid standards because the one I did last year was a disaster, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was used to having people where I could throttle them if I had to, But I just didn't work. So we're thinking how we're going to do this.
Okay.
But I'll come back and tell you when we decide we want to do it.
And you've got UFO books being published.
We're getting ready to come out with the books are named after each state. Okay, so like the first one coming out is UFOs in Ohio and where to find them. And they've all got that fantastic piece and where to find them tone to them. Yeah. Every one of them has that title. So Michigan, where to find them, And we are going to be 50 books, and then there will be 29 shapes books that will follow that if I'm still alive, and the idea will be we'll have about 70 books, and it will be the largest collection of compiled, analyzed, and published UFO material in human history.
Very nice.
That's the magic.
Well, you let me know when those come out, Chickie.
Shortly.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. Always lots of fun.
Anytime.
All right, darling. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye now.
Bye. Well, we have come to the end of another fantastic show. Big thank you to Cheryl. Always a delight to have on. Big thank you to our sponsors, Folgers Coffee, Dr. Snick. Please remember, whatever platform you are listening on, subscribe, like us, join, whatever it takes. Show us a support. We work very hard to bring you really fantastic guests and really fantastic content. So we appreciate all of your support. If you'd like to contact us about being a guest or seeing a specific guest or topic, please not on Facebook or social media. We don't get to it. We really don't. So the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com is our email. The Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Next week, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, tomorrow night, Dr. Charnel Wolverton Sihun, and she's going to be discussing her book, The Science of Miracles, which is going to be, I think, super interesting. I didn't realize there was a science behind that, but wow, apparently there is. And she's quite versed as well. So we definitely look forward to that show. So thank you to everyone who tuned in to the show, all who are listening. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. You guys just make it so much more fun. So we will see you guys tomorrow night, same time, same place, same chat rooms. Good night.